Ultimately, it's not a matter of if schools should reopen, it's simply a matter of how.
So what we want to do is we want to get our schools open. We want to get them open quickly, beautifully in the fall.
There's a disconnect between those in charge making the decisions and then, those of us with kids who are living in the real world.
How are we going to ensure that, there's equity as much as can be across where kids learn?
You have teachers who want to teach, but they realize that without us being at the table, without our voice being heard, our health is not going to be considered.
I think most of us just want to hear the plan.
Because of the coronavirus, doors to public schools have been closed since March. So why don't we have a clear nationwide plan to return America's 50 million students and 3.3 million teachers this fall?
If you said to us in 5 years, there's going to be a pandemic, and you're going to have to figure out how to teach kids from home and teach kids in pods and keep people safe, and you gave us 5 years, it would still be nearly impossible. We would still need money and resources. But you've given us 5 months,
With over 13,000 school districts and no one-size-fits-all solution, individual reopening plans are being developed locally across the country.
Everyone was sort of hoping that by the fall, things would be back to semi-normal. Kids would go to school, adults could go to work, and we could sort of muddle through. Everyone's waiting to see which way those tests are going, which way those numbers are going. We just don't know enough information, and unfortunately, we're going to have to act.
The challenges to safely reopening schools are vast. Superintendents from 62 cities warned Congress that without proper federal aid, their districts could be forced to lay off as many as 275,000 teachers to make up for 15 to 25% cuts in overall revenue going into the upcoming school year. For those going back to in-person learning, some of the CDC recommended guidelines, such as social distancing, are nearly impossible to achieve in current classroom setups.
The 6 feet is out the door. There's no way to socially distance at 6 feet. The 3 feet is going to be difficult, especially at the elementary level.
It will be very clear that in order for your kid to come to school at a certain age, they will have to be wearing a mask. Every precaution is going to be made around high-touch areas, light switches, playground equipment, that kind of thing.
In addition to student safety, safety for teachers and staff is also a concern. About 20% of teachers said they aren't likely to return to teaching if schools reopen in the fall, and 65% said they want school buildings to remain closed to slow the spread of the virus.
Economy is recoverable. Education is recoverable. A lot of things you can recover from. What you can't recover from is debt.
Depending on your situation, if you are an older teacher, if you have pre-existing conditions, diabetes, heart conditions, etc., that make you more susceptible, we just clearly don't know enough about this disease to make perfect decisions. We don't know if kids are super spreaders. We don't know if it's the young kids or the older kids who do it more.
The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that while it must be done safely for students, teachers, and staff, the goal is to have students physically present in school because in-person learning is so important to children's social development. Parents are left with a question. What's riskier for kids, the virus or missing out on in-person education?
It just seems like there's a disconnect between, yes, education is our priority and we want to educate our kids, but where do you draw the line between going forward with education in a school as opposed to keeping the kids safe? And I don't feel at this point that there's any way that they can ensure their safety.
Our biggest concern is how they're going to handle the cases when they actually occur, because I don't really see how they're going to be able to keep them out of the school system.
Remote learning presents a different set of challenges. For many students with limited resources at home, remote learning puts them at greater risk of falling behind.
I think most educators are concerned that COVID-19 is going to further exacerbate the achievement gap that we see in this country.
For some children, they're going to start their first day of school at a homeless shelter. And our districts, reaching out and trying to find support for them. For some kids, it's going to be in a 1-bedroom apartment where you don't have that quiet space to go and learn, in a way that you need to.
Some issues we've known even before COVID-19, right? We know that schools are a source for childcare. We know that they're a source for food. We know that they are sometimes the only place that people get internet.
In America, 1 in 6 children live in a food insecure household, and over half of elementary and secondary school students depend on the National School Lunch Program. Over 9 million children don't have access to broadband internet. And for many people, daycare during working hours isn't affordable. 70% of working parents will likely need childcare programs to go back to work.
You have to fulfill health, safety, and relationships before you can do any kind of learning or self-actualization. So that's the bottom line, and that's what we all have to really be focused on this fall. But really also, how do I keep my job? Which is very important at a time like this. We need parents to keep their jobs and not have more people losing jobs and suffering the financial consequences of that. So again, every stakeholder has valid fears, valid concerns, and there's not a right answer here.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.